let me say something that might sting. Being smart is not the advantage that you think it is, that society paints it as. In fact, for a lot of men, their intelligence is the exact thing that's keeping them stuck. Let me say that again. Their intelligence is the exact thing keeping them stuck. Not because intelligence is bad, but because of how it's so commonly used, or more accurately, how it's abused. So if you're watching this, the chances are that you're not stupid. You've always known that. That's always been evident. You pick up things quickly. You see patterns. You understand systems. You're good at thinking. You know about the habits that you should be implementing into your life. And yet, here you are. Not failing spectacularly, not winning decisively, just average, functionable, capable, underwhelming. And that frustrates you more than outright failure ever would or ever could. Because the most dangerous position a man can be in is just getting by. It's not rock bottom. It's that feeling of just getting by. It's okay, but it's not exciting, underwhelming. Rock bottom actually creates urgency. So the most dangerous place you can be at is just enough. Just enough intelligence to understand what you should be doing. Just enough success to avoid panic. Just enough comfort to delay any real commitment, and just enough awareness to feel dissatisfied. Just enough is refusing to help. And that's exactly where men stay trapped. They don't implode, they stall. And stalling feels deceptively safe. So why intelligence creates a false sense of progress? Here's the first trap. Smart men confuse understanding with movement. You know the language of growth. You can explain habits, discipline, mindset, systems, even neuroplasticity and the way the brain works. You can talk about dopamine, cortisol, trauma, routines, and diagnose problems effectively. But explanation is not transformation. Understanding gives you a hit of progress without requiring any risks. It feels like you're moving forward, but nothing in your life actually changes. And because you're so smart, you can rationalize this endlessly. I'm just researching, being strategic, thinking it through. I don't want to rush it. I want to do it properly. But underneath all that is something much, much, much simpler. And that is avoidance. And we're going to break it down so you can start to overcome this, because overthinking is not caution. It's fear with a better reputation, because smart men don't call it fear. They call it analysis. They don't say, I'm scared to commit. They just say, oh, I'm weighing up my options. They don't say, I'm afraid of failing publicly. They just say, oh, I want to be realistic. And they don't say, you know what? I'm actually avoiding responsibility. They say, I'm just waiting for the right time. But overthinking allows you to think you're staying in control without actually taking any responsibility for it. And being in control feels safe. But control without action just leads to stagnation. So here's exactly why smart men avoid embarrassment more than failure itself. Because that's something that people miss. Smart men, they're not afraid of failing. They're actually afraid of looking stupid. So they've built an identity around being competent, capable, sharp, and failure threatens outcomes. Embarrassment threatens identity. So instead of risking visible failure, smart men choose invisible stagnation. So they just stay quiet, they delay, they prepare. Because as long as they haven't really tried, their intelligence managed to stay intact. So they can still say, I could do better if I really went for it, if I really pushed myself. But I promise you, that sentence right there is a psychological shield. And it will keep on killing your future more than it has been doing already, because the days and the weeks and the years go by, and potential is the most comfortable prison, because this is where your pride enters, because potential feels good. Potential lets you feel superior without actually doing anything, and potential lets you compare yourself to the people who are actually trying and say, you know what, I could have done that easily. But potential that is never tested actually becomes a liability. Untested potential turns into frustration, resentment, quiet bitterness, fear of time keep passing you by. And the longer you protect your potential, the heavier it's just going to become. Eventually, it stops feeling like promise and starts feeling like an accusation. And when you feel like you've wasted your potential, there's no worse feeling. And here's why smart men hate structure. It's another uncomfortable truth, because smart men resist structure more than anybody, because it feels limiting, rigid. Structure feels like it's for less capable people. So instead, smart men just choose to rely on willpower, flexibility, intelligence. And it does work for a while, until life starts to apply pressure, which it always does. Structure doesn't exist to limit you. It exists to remove the negotiation. And negotiation is where smart men lose every time, because smart men can justify anything. They can argue themselves out of discipline so beautifully. But that's all about the self-negotiation loop. Here's exactly what it looks like. You wake up with an intention. You immediately start negotiating. I'll train later. I'll start tomorrow. I deserve a break. I'll make up for it. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. But every negotiation weakens your internal authority. Let me say it again. Every negotiation weakens your internal authority, because every time you stop, you end up not trusting your own word. And that's when your confidence disappears. Not because you lack ability, but because deep down you actually lack self-respect and self-esteem. But here's why less intelligent men sometimes win faster. And this part really hurts the pride and the ego. Men who are sometimes less intelligent often progress much faster. And I'm sure somebody comes to your mind when I say this. It's not because they're better. It's because they don't overthink the execution. They pick a system, they follow it, take action, and don't debate it. They don't need to understand everything before acting. They act and then learn. Smart men actually reverse this. They learn and then they hesitate. And if they do take action, it's delayed. And hesitation compounds just as powerfully as action does. And that's probably the real reason that you feel behind. You don't feel behind because you lack time. You feel behind because you've been circling around the same decisions for years. Same goals, same intentions, same conversations with yourself, different months, different birthdays. And that's what makes time feel so heavy. Not age, just repetition without progress. And that's why pride prevents people from asking for help, because smart men hate being coached. Not openly anyway, subtly. They want guidance, but not authority. They want insight, but not accountability. They want validation of their thinking, not being forced to challenge it, because being coached means admitting that intelligence alone isn't and hasn't been enough, and that threatens your pride and your ego. So instead, they stay solo. But staying solo is slow, and you blind spots, you cause yourself so many mistakes. And here's the moment that men start to change. It changes when you stop using intelligence as an armor. When a man finally admits, I don't need to understand more. I need to commit to taking action consistently. Pardon me. And when he realizes that thinking has become a substitute for courage, when he stops trying to preserve identity and starts building his character, that's when momentum returns and can really build and keep building, not explosively, quietly and reliably. Identity before behavior, because you don't fix this by forcing habits. You fix it by changing who's in charge internally. Because right now, the smartest observer, the version of you runs the show. That one who comments on life instead of engaging with it. That version of you has to step aside if you really want to build an enjoyable life, because builders don't analyze endlessly. They just decide. And standards remove intelligence as an excuse. Standards don't care how smart you are. They don't care how you feel, they don't care how tired you are, and they don't care how well you understand the theory of how things work. It only asks one question. Did you do it or not? Did you take the action or not? And that's why standards terrify men who've actually got quite a high level of intelligence, because it exposes inconsistency without ever being able to be argued with. Because discipline's not for dumb people, it's for the honest ones. Discipline is not some sort of lack of intelligence. It's actually a refusal to negotiate with weakness and from your lower self. It's the moment you stop letting intelligence talk you out of taking action. And when smart men finally embrace discipline, you know what? They actually start to accelerate faster, because intelligence plus execution consistency is absolutely lethal, because the man you could be is actually not far away. This is actually the most frustrating part. You're not missing out on some crazy secret. You're blocked because you've been avoiding decisions over and over again. Train consistently, sleep properly, remove distractions, set non-negotiables, and commit publicly or structurally. That's it. There's no mystery in it, just courage and consistency compounded over time, because smart men stay average longer than everybody else because they protect their identity instead of building their future. They choose looking capable over becoming capable. They choose understanding over action and comfort over embarrassment until they don't. And the moment they stop protecting their intelligence and start respecting standards and daily non-negotiables, everything changes. Not because they became smarter, but because they finally started to act like the man who meant what he said. So if this video hit, don't just overthink it. That's the old pattern creeping back in. Decide, commit, execute, and let your intelligence finally work for you, not against you. And if you want a system to put all this into place and start executing daily and building momentum physically and mentally, click the link in the bio. The Become Unfuckwithable Blueprint is there. The free system that I built, that I use to change my life and I use with all my private clients. It's changed so many people's lives so far, and it's in the description for free. So you've got no excuse. So I'm glad you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next video, but don't bother clicking onto it if you're not going to download the free blueprint that will change your life. Drop me a comment and agree with something I've said, disagree with something I've said, start an argument. Just drop some emojis and let me know you're there. Let's have a conversation. I'll see you in the next video. Let's fucking go.